I'm going to start with some Procreate tips before moving on to asking your opinions of and telling you about these original Pokemon character designs. As you can see, on a separate layer, I'm creating line art over a base that I sketched in pencil in a sketchbook. You can do the sketch layer digitally instead. Then, I use the Alpha Lock tool so I can draw only where I've already put color on a layer. You can also do this by creating a new layer and setting it to clipping mask. I use a combination of alpha locked and clipping masks. You can use the selection tool, selecting Select All in Procreate, to select outside of a shape. I advise this to get all the way to the edges, then select Inverse and go to a different layer. Pull a color over from the side where the color palettes are to fill that in a solid color. This creates flats. Flats and line art, I advise, should be done in separate layers. To make this process much easier digitally, I suggest you close the lines. I'm also intentionally working in a slightly more sophisticated version of the standard Ken Sugimori style to make this look like it's in the Pokemon world, as it's for Pokemon fanfiction designs. So the style I'm using is intentionally low on highlights and more mid-tones and dark tones without too many shadows. This is intentional because of the style. Aside from concerning yourself with the style you're working in, you should also be aware of which layer you're on. Double check the layer you're on so you don't accidentally work on the wrong layer and have to go back and make corrections. By double finger tapping, you can go back and undo an action. By using a triple finger tap on the screen, you redo the previous action. I'm using Procreate on the iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. Remember that you can use a clipping mask layer over top of black line art, or alpha lock that layer in order to color the line art. I'm intentionally doing thin black line art for this style, however, so I won't be coloring it here. When working at a higher resolution, you can't have too many layers in Procreate. So I advise you reduce the layers and keep similar layers the same. Put all flats on one layer, all line art on one layer. Underneath everything, a background layer. If you're clipping masking or doing tests, remember to merge down as soon as you reasonably can. I also tend to have a lighting effect layer on top of everything else. I'll multiply set shadows layer. By selecting the layers options, you can change it from normal to different types. I sometimes use color dodge for bright light effects, and I also commonly use multiply. It darkens and makes colors a little transparent, which is perfect for tattoos and shadows. As for this, you should keep in mind that the colors around a color affect how you perceive it. Soon I'm going to change the background. Notice how the perception of the costumes changes when I added more orange and pale tones in the background. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, you can download free brushes and use different types of brushes for texture, softness, and hardness. Experiment with different brushes and find ones that you like for different techniques. Zelena Lunaris is a Pokemon trainer who used to be a champion in her region, like all the main characters in this story. She's a 21-year-old woman who is quite articulate, independent, steadfast, intelligent, logical, and it seems more cold until she gets close to someone. She's often a bit judgmental and a bad loser. She can be disrespectful to those who seem less skilled than her and needs to improve on that. She'll change from silent to chatterbox in an instant. She often likes to take care of her Pokemon before concerned with her own physical health. And she has a few secrets up her sleeve. Let me know which designs you preferred. If you can, please be specific about eye color, hairstyle, footwear, and the rest of the costume as separate things. The hairstyle, footwear, and costume in particular, if you can give me those more specific comments. Now let's get on to explaining about Kylan Lucan. As you can tell, I did the initial sketch here, and I had to do a lot of adjusting. I'm also going to go through a lot of iterations before I'm even close to happy with Kylan, but I am still interested in everyone's opinions as to what they prefer. I absolutely love super long hair, and it's actually harder for me to do short hair on characters, so I decided at least one of the main characters needs shorter hair, so I intentionally did that here. He's meant to be 5 foot 10 inches tall, and like the other characters, is an ex-Pokemon champion invited to Battle Island. Intentionally, I wanted a lot of his design to involve the color green and square shapes, but not be over the top and be more subtle. Here I did an extra sketch in a sketchbook, and I'm working out more of the facial details and what his hairstyle is going to be. I was actually having a bit of trouble with it, so I just tried again. He's meant to be 24 years old, and his original home region is Sinnoh. Which reminds me, Zelena's home region is the one I made up, the Ontari region, the same one that my previous character in the other video is also from, which is based on Ontario, Canada. As someone from Sinnoh, I thought it would be important to give him some Pokemon from Sinnoh to start with. And I thought it would be very fun for him to have a Lucario. At any rate, he likes green, turquoise, black, but not exclusively those colors, and he has a bit of a rocker or cool, edgy style to him. He's meant to be hardy, cheerful, alert, a natural leader, very outgoing, physically strong, and able to rock climb. Sometimes he's accidentally destructive and meddlesome, and is a bit of a nosy gossip. Sometimes he's a bit too loquacious, conversational, chatty, gabby, and talkative. He often thinks he's good at everything, and it's a flip of a coin whether it's true or not when you first meet him. I decided it would be very interesting to have him be someone who has short hair, because for me, doing characters with short hair is a challenge. I don't prefer short hair most of the time unless I randomly think it suits the character, and for me, this is short hair. However, every time I tried to work with a squarish, a little fantastic over-the-top design that's short, shoulder length or shorter, I was having a bit of trouble. These designs here, I started finally enjoying more of what I was working on with Kylan. And I started thinking I was starting to actually design something half decent and not at all generic or boring. As it goes along, I think the designs get better. You'll see even more designs as this video continues. Please let me know which ones you like. And if you really can, I really want the hairstyle and costume and footwear as separate things. Sorry for repeating myself. I'm trying to not give away too much information because I'd like to reveal it more as I actually work on the short animations, animatics, motion comics, and other things that will be involving these characters, which I'm doing partially for study and partially for fun. I think it's a good way to get a lot of different art studies done, and so I can get back into the swing of things to make my own more original comics eventually. Not that this won't be an original story with original characters, but it is set in the Pokemon universe. Fan art is often a very good way of practicing art techniques before working on something extremely original. Well, the story for this is going to be quite original, and it's going to involve a lot of things in the Pokemon world that I made up myself, but it's also going to involve previously established Pokemon. Every Pokemon that already exists and the regions that already exist will already be in this world. And, for example, he will have a Lucario, and as I said, be from the Sinnoh region. I wanted to have him be a bit religious and a member of the Church of Arceus, because I thought that would also be very nice. I used a lot of random creation charts that I wrote out with dice rolling, D%, and I also made decisions. These are the designs I started finally enjoying for Kylan. It took over a week of going back on separate days to actually get through things. As you can see, I changed the hairstyle many times there. I was looking at reference photos to help. I also looked up a lot of reference of rocker, punk, and goth clothing styles to help me. But I also looked up sportswear, because the other thing in my notes is that he's a sporty guy who has sportswear options. I'm also going to do something where I'm able to actually change up people's clothing in this story and not always have them wear the same things. I also want it to be possible for other things to change, like the way they're wearing their hair if it's long, for example, and other details. Let me know what you think and what your favorite designs were. I'm sure I'll have another video for everyone soon. I have one more main character for these. Alright, see you next time. Bye!